I'm joined now by David Lowe, Principal Law Lecturer from Liverpool John Moores University. He is an expert on international terrorism and security policy. Thank you very much for joining us. Was this attack a significant blow to terrorism in the region?
Oh, without doubt. I mean, if the figures are correct of over 150 of their operatives having been killed, this has degraded their capability severely in that region. And also, it's not just in that region. There's been a number of EU citizens who've joined Al-Shabaab over the years. So there is that potential for that to spread. But of course, don't forget, this is the group that was responsible for the Westgate Mall siege in Nairobi a couple of years ago. And even earlier this year, they did an attack on the Arab Union forces, killing around 180 there. So this is a dangerous group in that region, and I think it has degraded their capability.
So how big of a threat do they remain, do you think, after this attack?
Well, no doubt they will look to build up again. I mean, they have pledged their allegiance to al-qaeda, and they're part of that al-qaeda in the Maghreb group. And no doubt they will look for support from other factions who form that group, al-qaeda, in the Maghreb. But it's going to certainly put any plans they had, they'll have to put those on hold for a number of months, and if not for the rest of the year, possibly. So it will hold them back.
Now, Europe has been targeted by Islamist groups, the last of which were the attacks in Paris last November. You mentioned Europeans actually joining some of these Islamist groups. As a legal expert, do you think that Europe needs to tighten its anti-terrorism laws, or are they sufficient already?
There's a high degree of sufficiency. I mean, certainly within the European Union, the member states have followed the framework decision from over 10 years ago, and some states have actually gone beyond that. Certainly, you look at France; they introduced a new act last summer to widen the capabilities of surveillance as well. And you look at how they have developed with the powers really to try and prevent. And of course, you need wider powers if you want your policing authorities to prevent these attacks. But perhaps one area, and it's a battleground at the moment, a legal battleground, is the security and policing agencies having access to electronic communications data. You're looking at these groups, not just groups like Islamic State, who we all know are very efficient in their use of communications, of social media and so on. But other groups are switching onto it now. Only recently, there was an al-qaeda faction started to bring out propaganda videos, actually having a go at the claims by Islamic State. So you can see the potential of it. And of course, I understand why internet communication service providers want to protect their personal data, but Europe could take a lead here. The EU has very strict laws on protecting personal data, and internationally, I think they could take a lead and sort of reassure these companies that they will be for specific reasons like terrorism. If that's one area that needs tightening up, it's that. But I think other areas, there is sufficiency at the moment.
But David, where do you draw the line? And I mean, is it really possible to prevent terrorist attacks by surveilling data? Aren't there always going to be people who will simply get through?
Well, this is the problem. You can never say never, certainly in counter-terrorism, and you've always got to expect it. I mean, even in the UK yesterday, Mark Rowley, the head of counter-terrorism policing here, gave out another warning that Islamic State are looking to have a substantial attack here in the UK. And there's been threats again to France. I think you look across Belgium to Germany, key states where you would expect an attack to be. So you can never be complacent. And of course, you're quite right. We have to be fortunate 100% of the time. They've only got to be lucky once to get an attack through. But I think if you're looking at the complexities of communications, and as I said, certainly within the EU, there are very strict laws on protecting personal data. And we've seen the European Court of Justice take strict action. I mean, even in the Schrems case from last year, it brought a halt to the Safe Harbour agreements, the trade agreement between the EU and the US. So that was a brave decision. I mean, they've renegotiated now, but it shows you how the EU takes it very seriously, and quite rightly so. But we've got to get the balance right between protecting our national security of the member states and our personal data.
International terrorism expert David Lowe, thank you very much. We appreciate it.